That stiffness when you swing your legs out of bed in the morning. The way your fingers protest when you try to twist open a jar. The hip that starts complaining halfway up the stairs. If any of that sounds familiar, here is something worth hearing. There are 5 beans ordinary, sitting in most grocery stores right now, that researchers have connected to real support for joint pain and inflammation, the kind that usually sends people reaching for a bottle of ibuprofen. Today, I'm walking you through all 5 in order, starting with the one almost nobody thinks of first. Number 5, chickpeas. Most people think of chickpeas as hummus filler, not joint support. But chickpeas carry a compound called choline, along with plant compounds called saponins. And laboratory research on chickpea extracts has found that these saponins can suppress 2 of the body's main inflammatory messengers, TNF-alpha and IL-6, the same chemical signals that keep low-grade inflammation switched on year after year. That's not folk wisdom, that's cell-level research on the bean itself. Here's why that matters for your knees. A lot of everyday stiffness isn't damage, it's chronic low-grade inflammation quietly running in the background. Choline plays a role in that same signaling system, helping the body manage its inflammatory response rather than leaving it switched on indefinitely. Chickpeas also bring real muscle support to the table, about 15 grams of plant protein per cooked cup, plus a hefty dose of fiber. That matters more than people realize, because the muscle wrapped around your knees and hips is what actually absorbs the shock when you walk. Less muscle means more raw stress hits the joint directly. And that fiber isn't just for digestion. Researchers reviewing legumes as a food group have repeatedly linked higher fiber intake to a more favorable inflammatory environment throughout the entire body, not just the gut. A simple way in: half a cup of cooked chickpeas, tossed with olive oil, lemon juice, and diced cucumber, 3 or 4 times a week. Consider someone like Arlene, 68, in Boulder. Her doctor mentioned her diet leaned heavily on packaged food, so she started adding a scoop of chickpeas to her lunch salad, not chasing joint relief, just trying to eat a little better. 6 weeks in, she noticed something she hadn't expected. She wasn't reaching for the ibuprofen bottle most mornings anymore. And here's the thing about chickpeas: how much they help can depend on your decade of life, because inflammation patterns naturally shift as we age. So tell me in the comments, whether you're 62, 74, or 81, how many of these morning stiffness, jar opening trouble, stair complaints sound like you? And let me know where you're watching from, because colder climates tend to make joint stiffness worse. This community means a great deal to me, and your story matters. Now, bean number 4 is where the research gets genuinely surprising. Here's a fact that stopped me cold when I first read it. Number 4, black beans. In 2010, researchers at Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada put black bean hulls through a laboratory test, measuring how strongly they block COX-1 and COX-2, the exact same enzymes that ibuprofen and aspirin are designed to block. The result, published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry, the black bean hull extract inhibited those enzymes even more strongly than aspirin did in that same test. Not may help. Outperformed aspirin in a controlled lab measurement. Now, I want to be straight with you about what that does and doesn't mean. That was a concentrated extract tested in a lab dish, not a clinical trial, proving a bowl of black bean soup replaces your medication. But it tells you something real. The compounds responsible for black beans' color, anthocyanins, the same pigment family found in blueberries and cherries, are genuinely measurably active against the same biological pathway, your pain reliever's target. That's a different claim than black beans are healthy, and it's worth knowing. Beyond the pigment, black beans are one of the higher fiber legumes available, roughly 15 grams per cooked cup, and that fiber feeds the bacteria in your gut that researchers now believe influence inflammation throughout the entire body, not just the digestive system. There's a reason nutrition researchers keep circling back to gut health when they study arthritis. The two systems are more connected than most people realize. Black beans also carry magnesium, potassium, and folate, rounding out a nutrient profile that supports muscle function alongside that anti-inflammatory activity. A practical way to use them: black beans folded into a warm soup with carrots, celery, and a little garlic. Ready in about 20 minutes, gentle enough for anyone easing into a higher fiber diet. Curtis, 71, in Peoria, started swapping black beans in for red meat 2 or 3 nights a week after a friend mentioned it. He just wanted an easier dinner, nothing more. It was his wife who pointed out, a couple of months later, that he'd stopped wincing when he stood up from the couch. Stay with me, because the bean coming up next has research behind it that's specific to women in a way none of the others are, and it might be the most talked about one on this entire list. Before we get there, if this is useful to you, take 5 seconds and hit subscribe. I put out videos like this every week, backed by real research, no fluff. And if you know someone dealing with stiff knees or aching hands, send them this one. It might be exactly what they need to hear today. If you're a woman who's noticed your joints changed around menopause, this next one is worth paying close attention to. Number 3, soybeans. Soybeans are one of the only beans that provide a complete plant protein, all 9 essential amino acids your body can't make on its own, and that matters because muscle loss after 60 is one of the hidden reasons joints start taking more punishment. Less muscle around a joint simply means more direct stress lands on the joint itself. But soybeans carry something researchers have studied specifically in postmenopausal women: isoflavones, plant compounds that interact loosely with estrogen receptors in the body. In a study presented to the North American Menopause Society, a whole soy-based supplement was shown to reduce the frequency of hot flashes and reduce muscle and joint pain in postmenopausal women over an 8-week period. Separately, a systematic review and meta-analysis of randomized controlled trials, pooling data across nearly 2 decades of soy isoflavone research, found that isoflavone intake helped attenuate bone loss at the spine in postmenopausal women, with the strongest effects showing up at higher food-based intake levels. Why does that matter for joints specifically? Because the drop in estrogen after menopause is tied to both bone density changes and increased joint discomfort for a lot of women. The two tend to move together. Isoflavones aren't a replacement for hormones, and no serious researcher claims that. But the research base here is unusually specific and unusually deep compared to most foods on this list. Soy also brings lecithin and plant omega-3s to the table, both linked to a calmer inflammatory response. The easiest entry point isn't a plain boiled bean, it's edamame, steamed and lightly salted, or firm tofu sautéed with a little olive oil and broccoli. Even a half cup, a few times a week, adds up over months. Now here's the one I genuinely wasn't expecting to make this list when I started researching it. Number 2, mung beans. These small green beans carry 2 plant compounds, vitexin and isovitexin, concentrated almost entirely in the seed coat. And researchers testing mung bean seed coat extract on inflamed cells found it measurably reduced 3 specific inflammatory markers, IL-6, IL-1 beta, and TNF-alpha. In a separate animal study, rats given mung bean coat extract before a physical stressor showed significantly lower markers of oxidative damage and higher antioxidant capacity in their blood compared to rats that didn't get it. What that translates to in plain terms: mung beans contain compounds shown in controlled lab and animal testing to calm down the same inflammatory signals involved in joint stiffness and tissue stress. Mung beans are also unusually rich in plant protein and potassium is one of the more overlooked minerals when it comes to muscle function. Low intake has been associated with cramping, fatigue, and weaker muscle performance, all of which make movement feel harder than it needs to. If your legs have started cramping up at night more than they used to, low potassium is genuinely worth ruling out before anything else. Mung beans cook fast, 15 to 20 minutes from dry, and work well in a simple sauté with kale, garlic, and olive oil. Most people can start with a half cup 3 to 4 times a week and build from there. And number 1, the bean that surprised me most once I started digging into this research, mostly because it doesn't rely on one flashy compound: cannellini beans. On the surface, they look like the plainest bean on this whole list. But cannellini beans pack an unusually complete profile: plant protein, fiber, magnesium, potassium, folate, and polyphenol antioxidants, all in one food. Reviews of legume research consistently place beans like this among the foods with measurable anti-inflammatory bioactive compounds, phenolics, and carbohydrate fractions that laboratory testing has linked to reduced inflammatory activity, even when no single compound stands out the way COX-blocking anthocyanins or isoflavones do. The fiber content alone is worth pausing on. The Mayo Clinic's own guidance on easing chronic inflammation lists legumes among the core anti-inflammatory food groups precisely because of this fiber and gut connection. A healthier gut lining is tied to a calmer, more balanced inflammatory response throughout the body. The magnesium matters just as much. It's involved in hundreds of processes in the body, including muscle relaxation and nerve function, and low intake has been linked to cramping, poor sleep, and reduced physical performance, all things that make joint pain feel worse than it already is. Put simply, cannellini beans don't target one thing. They support the muscle, the gut, and the tissue around your joints all at once, which may be exactly why they keep showing up quietly in nearly every piece of research on legumes and healthy aging. Half a cup to a full cup 3 to 5 times a week is a reasonable place to start in a simple Mediterranean bowl with cucumber, tomato, olive oil, and lemon, or folded into a warm vegetable soup on a cold evening. So there they are: chickpeas, black beans, soybeans, mung beans, and cannellini beans. 5 ordinary foods, and behind every one of them, real laboratory and clinical research, not guesswork. A quick note: if you're on medication that affects potassium or blood clotting, or you're managing a digestive condition, check with your doctor before making a big change and increase your bean intake gradually. The fiber can cause some bloating at first if you rush it. None of these beans replace that conversation with your doctor. But 5 ordinary beans, eaten a few times a week, may do more for how your joints feel than another bottle of pills ever could. Which one are you going to try first? Tell me in the comments. And if this helped you, hit subscribe. I've got more of these breakdowns coming every week. Thanks for watching.